So, good morning, everyone, and thank you to be here with us today. So, just to recall, this webinar is about the new NGI TrustChain project. Actually, the session will be recorded and we can start right away. So, what is TrustChain? TrustChain, fostering a human-centered, trustworthy and sustainable internet, is a European project funded by the European Commission under the Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Programme. It is also part of the European Commission Next Generation Internet Initiative. It was launched in January 2023, this year, to empower innovators and end users through 5 open calls to create a portfolio of next generation internet protocols and an ecosystem of decentralized identity management software solution that is transparent to the user, interoperable, privacy aware, and regulatory compliant. That can also seamlessly integrate and interoperate with any of the existing decentralized applications. So up to 8.7 million euro funding and mentoring program with best international experts in their field will be delivered to you, applicant. You will have also access to diverse support services, such as access to infrastructure, crypto token for demonstration purposes, business development training, and communication support. Actually, TrustChain is brought to you by 7 European partners. If we start on the left, F6S, then University of London, in particular city, Cyber Voluntarios in Spain with Alastria, the Athens University of Economic and Business in Greece, the University of Ljubljana, and in particular the Faculty of Computer and Information Science, European Dynamics, which is the coordinator of the project in Luxembourg, and finally Timelex in Belgium. What are TrustChain objectives? So the spirit of the first generation internet, based on individual freedom, material progress, and moral community, is slowly turning into individualism, materialism, and moralism, diverging from essential ethical and democratic principles that should underline this technology. We can see that the design choice of the past, based on a mix of centrally managed networking and device technologies, makes today's internet obsolete, especially when it comes to empowering all citizens to act for a more environmentally friendlier digital transformation, as well as to create a more resilient, inclusive, and democratic society. So the next generation internet should embed the principle of human rights, sustainability, ethics, and other human value. This is the condition for a trust relationship in the digital world. And this is what we want to achieve in TrustChain, for which the objective is self-contained in the project name. So just to recall, to achieve a human-centered, trustworthy, and sustainable decentralized internet. So how we intend to do that? First of all, what is really important to us is the co-creation of this ecosystem of solution with the engagement of end user. We want also to provide democratic, transparent, traceable, and regulatory compliant mechanisms that can support any ecosystem of entities and actors participating with their digital identities. We should use decentralized digital identity architectures together with IoT, AI, cloud to edge, DLT, and DT, and embed in such solution important societal goals in accordance with objective truth and therefore trustworthiness. So, how we intend to do that? We will provide during the course of this project 5 open calls. So, namely Open Call 1, that is the focus of this webinar today, decentralized digital identity. Open Call 2, user privacy and data governance. Open Call 3, economics and democracy. Open Call 4, multi-chain support for NGI protocol. Open Call 5, green, scalable, and sustainable DLTs. So you can see that each open call will provide key technology that can be used as a basis for development in the subsequent call, while also the opposite interaction can be employed by later calls. So this is reflected by this pink and orange arrow. And of course, all this open call will be based on a market framework and also will take care of the business potential. As already mentioned, they will be also all based on a human-centered design that aims to empower citizens. And of course, will also take care of the current regulatory framework and e-democracy. This being said, let's go more deeper in TrustChain Open Call 1. And the agenda will be as follows. Open Call 1, decentralized identity management. So we will focus especially on this open call. We will see what are the eligibility criteria and the selection process, how you can apply and why to apply. And finally, we will focus on some specific aspects to be covered in your proposal, especially the human-centered approach, how you should take care of ethic aspects in TrustChain. And finally, we will go a bit deeper in the digital identity architecture and a reference framework that is discussed actually at European level. So where do we stand and how to consider it in this Open Call 1. So the objective of this Open Call 1 is to define and develop a framework for decentralized user-centric identity management, to develop also protocol for trustworthiness assessment of entities and their data by means of verifiable credential and decentralized reputation system, and also to develop smart oracle assessing the trustworthiness of data. The call has been open the 8th of February this year, and the deadline will be the 10th of April and of the afternoon. The overall budget for this Open Call 1 is €1,000,000 that will be distributed among up to 15 selected projects for a 9 months duration. So each project can get up to €117,000. What we are searching for, we are searching for applications that define, upgrade, or extend the state of the art and develop the following type of solution. So decentralized user-centric identity management framework for supporting an automated, privacy-preserving, legal and regulatory compliant infrastructure, potentially in alignment with emerging European regulation and standard. We will discuss this later on. or protocol for trustworthiness assessment of entities by means of verifiable credential and decentralized reputation system, smart oracle assessing the trustworthiness of data associated with digital identities, inclusive digital identity platform focusing on marginalized community, including refugee, elderly, vulnerable people, and so forth. Social identity for delegation and recovery that drive community-based trust establishment, for example, social guardians. System considering both public and private administration roles in issuing and managing decentralized identifier. Decentralized identity system supporting decentralized authority organization. Use case driven identity management system deployment, for example, banking, publishing, healthcare, education, and so forth. Of course, all these systems are indicative and sorry, I expecting some issue. Okay. So all these systems that have been mentioned are indicative, and let's say that what we are expecting are or this system by themselves or solutions that integrate one or more of them as long as it serves TrustChain vision. Your solution should utilize existing concept and technology already developed for SSI and fit within, of course, the TrustChain vision and objective. Really important also is that your solution is open source, and at the end of the 9 months project duration, it should have achieved TRL 7. It should be also tested and evaluated by an adequate pool of potential users, which should be identified in the application. We will come also later on this user-centric approach that we want you to apply. We want also to support by a self-sustaining business model for exploiting the developed system at the end of the project. And finally, you should use standard technology for full stack development that is compatible with current standard. So who are we searching for? We are searching for developers, innovators, researchers, SMEs and entrepreneurs working on different NGI relevant topic and application domain at the intersection between the technical field. So there is some example mentioned here. I will not go through all. And the social science and humanities. This is really important to have this multi or interdisciplinary activity in the project. So we encourage you to embed in the team that will apply this expertise, as well as any other, including economics, environment, art, design, which can contribute to the NGI TrustChain relevant vision. How the selection process works? There is 3 phases. The eligibility check that you can see here in orange, the proposal evaluation, and then at the end of the proposal evaluation, a certain number of application will be selected. Basically, of course, the base one and the one that are above threshold, to go to an online interview here you will have to make a pitch. Everything is disclosed in the guide for applicants, and of course, if you are successful, you will get a sub agreement with us. Sorry, that we encourage also you to have a look to. It is presented also in the guide for applicants, just for you to know about the condition that will govern our collaboration during the 9 months period. Actually, up to 15 projects will be selected. How to apply? So the entry point for all proposal is this link. So you have to go on the F6S portal. Any submission received by any other channel will be automatically discarded. You have to provide a comprehensive research proposal according to the TrustChain template and instructions set in the guide for applicants. So you have all the relevant material both in the F6S portal, but also, of course, on the NGI TrustChain project portal. You will have also to fill in the administrative part, including any obligatory supporting documents specified in the guide for applicant. And actually, we will ask you to also very take care carefully of the self-ethic assessment. We will come back to this also later. So 4 tips for you to submit a good proposal. So read carefully the TrustChain Open Call 1 document and guide for applicant. There is all the information there that are needed for your application. Check carefully the eligibility criteria. Take a look at the frequently asked question on our website, as well as the one that you are going to ask us today. Use the official TrustChain template for your proposal. So once again, you have all the information needed on these 2 portals, so the TrustChain website and the F6S portal. Note also that this webinar will be disclosed also in the TrustChain website. Why to apply? So TrustChain will offer you equity-free funding, coaching on technical and business aspects, access to top infrastructure, as well as visibility, promotion, support, and networking. So equity-free funding, result-based payment according to predefined KPIs. So you will also have some information in the guide for applicant. You will have access freely to Alastria blockchain infrastructure that is compliant with Ethereum. Coaching support services will be provided to you, and you will have access to various expertise for scaling up innovative business, for example. And visibility and promotion, as well as networking, so toward the TrustChain community, access also to a wider NGI community, matchmaking services between innovators, connection with some accelerators and or venture capitalists for the one who ends up implementing their solution. Let's move now to some specific aspects to be covered in your proposal. And for that, I will leave the floor to Maria Pretel from Cyber Voluntarius. So Maria, the floor is yours.
Okay, so we're going to focus on some specific aspects. I will talk about the user-centric approach. And for that, the users should, first of all, is to identify who are going to be your end user. And once it is defined, you have to introduce them in the process of ideation and the validation of your tool. To incorporate them in the process of ideation, you have to follow qualitative methodology, mainly a qualitative methodology, and you could also do some questionnaires or some surveys, but you have to focus on doing workshops, focus groups, or interviews. And then you have to identify the user requirements and the design user requirements and implement it in your design. Then you should develop, and then in the validation and evaluation, they need to use the tool, and you have to identify if it's useful for them or not, what are the things that you should change maybe, or what are the things that are really good for them and they are validating. For us, no matter how large is the sample, but it's needing to be representative of your end user. So if your end user will be the general population, you have to create a sample with all the groups that are integrated in them, and also keep in mind not only to design for technique users, also for vulnerable groups that could use your tool in the future. So I would give the floor to my colleague Ruben, that will talk to you about ethics.
Yes. Can we switch to the next slide?
Yes, I try. Sorry, Ruben, for
No worries,
that.
no worries, no worries.
Here it is.
Yes, here we are. It's very important to highlight that in the framework of the funding provided, that the ethics aspects are extremely important in your proposal and in your project. So everybody, as explained in the guide for applicants, will be required to assess these ethical aspects using the ethics questionnaire that you will find in the guide. This is your responsibility as an applicant. It's very important that you complete the questionnaire truthfully, ensure that you highlight all the relevant ethics issues that may arise in the course of your project. We want to emphasize that any potential infringement of your ethics principles or any potential harm that your project may cause will always be your responsibility and can lead to the rejection of your proposal. So you should take due care of these ethical aspects. Now, upfront, we can, with 99% certainty, say that for most of the proposals, the data protection aspects or GDPR aspects will be the most relevant ethical issues to be addressed. So whenever your project would entail the processing of personal data, and I would say 99% of the projects will entail processing of personal data, you need to ensure that you comply with all the requirements under data protection law, GDPR being the European regulation, of course, but of course, all the national laws need to be complied with as well. I've highlighted only a few of the relevant obligations on the slide, of course, but the main ones would be informing data subjects, ensuring that you have a legal basis for your processing of personal data. For instance, do you have consent when consent would be required? Do you need to consult your DPO, data protection officer, internally or not? And it may be required for some organizations to seek mandatory prior approval by an ethics body or a data protection body before you can engage in a project as the one you would be proposing under this scheme. So it's your responsibility that you seek and obtain within the indicated timings such approval when it is mandatorily required. In any case, it is, as explained in the guide of applicants, important that you also seek prior approval from an external independent advisor who can assess whether the measures you've proposed to mitigate your data protection or ethical risks, whether they are sufficient. That with regard to the ethics aspects, and then I give the floor back to the next speaker.
Thank you, Ruben. And maybe just also to add that maybe the approach that you applicant are going to take regarding this ethic aspect can be a bit detailed in your proposal. And actually, there is a section that is dedicated in the Impact One regarding data management plan, and maybe this is the place where you can eventually speak a bit about your approach. So I just give now the floor to Jesus from Alastria to go ahead on the digital identity architecture and reference framework. So please, Jesus.
Thank you, Caroline. So, you probably know or are aware about the different formal or mainstream initiatives in Europe related to digital identity. And I would say that the mainstream digital identity, and mainstream means formal, I will let you know what it is right now. The mainstream digital identity is going to be well supported by EIDAS-2. EIDAS-2 is a future regulation based on EIDAS. This is a modification and amendment to EIDAS, and specifically the European Digital Identity Wallet Architecture and Reference Framework, which is a document which has been published several weeks ago, very recently. You have the link there in this slide, but probably you already know about this. And then when I say mainstream digital identity, if you look at the figure, I don't want to explain everything, but you see that you have on the left several formal or bodies, okay, like national accreditation bodies, conformity assessment bodies, supervisor bodies, then schema providers on the qualified trust service provider arena, and then you have authentic sources, and then those authentic sources in these initiatives are used to provide verifiable credentials or electronic attestations of attributes, as it is called in the regulation. Okay. Now, having said that, okay, the architectural reference framework is also being implemented by several large-scale projects and other very big initiatives. And when I say mainstream, I mean this, that they are going to be focused on, let's say, the traditional or the mainstream digital identity applications. So what is this? It means that we shouldn't do anything. No, because digital identity is very complex, specifically when you are trying to support inclusivity, social identity, many of the things which are not in the mainstream focus right now. Okay, so the architectural reference framework, the message is it should be used as a guiding principle, but the use cases, the participants should not be limited by the architectural reference framework or even by the initiatives that are going on right now. But they should focus on innovation which is human-centered, as I said, based on inclusivity, extending the mainstream digital identity initiatives, and then providing some innovation which justifies why they are going to be doing this. And of course, having said that, the architectural reference framework should not be a limitation or restriction. In several cases, specifically if you are trying to address a mainstream digital identity use case, then probably you should be looking very careful to the architectural reference framework. Okay, so what we are looking is innovation and extension, specifically on the human-centered areas of the digital identity. So we can cover, together with the mainstream initiatives, most of the digital identity space in a trustworthy manner and compliant with the ethics. And that's everything I wanted to say. Okay.
Thank you, Jesus. So actually, our presentation finished here, but now it's the time for your question. And please, I think it's really the moment for you to investigate a bit more, and we are here to answer everything that you need. So for that, you have the chat box, and I will go through your question, and we will answer to you. So Actually, there is no question from what I can see. So please do not hesitate. We are here to answer. So first question, could you please let us know the format of the proposal? Actually, I will take this question. The proposal is in the template is actually on the website. So you can just upload it, and you have here all the information that are needed in order for you to provide a good application. Actually, this is a 10-page maximum. Everything that will be over these 10 pages will not be considered by the evaluator. Just also for your information, your proposal will be evaluated by two evaluator, one independent from the TrustChain consortium and one internal to the consortium. And actually, there will be a consensus that will be made regarding these two individual evaluation that will lead then to a ranking list for your proposal to go or not to the interview. So the proposal, you can have access to it in the TrustChain web portal. It is also in the guide for applicants. Then the second question, the aim is to reach TRL 7 in this project. Yes, indeed, and maybe I can give the floor for that to Raj, if you want to expand a bit more on it.
Yeah, I think the aim is to reach something that you can test and show the feasibility on a use case scenario. So unless you really come to TRS 7 in these projects, I think you won't be able to. I think there is a follow-up question as well about the POC, but I think what we are trying to see is to really deploy in a real environment like a banking, public service, health, or education, where you could try and show that the solution you are proposing out of this project is feasible and exploitable in a real world setting. And as we emphasize, that's a human-centric aspect should be there, and also it should be exploitable in a real world application.
Thank you, Raj. Next question, is there any restriction for projects who were funded in previous program like TrueBlue? So maybe I can take it. What we really need to see in your application is that this is something original. So you should always provide in your application or highlight the difference with past project. What progress? What are you providing more in the context of TrustChain? In terms of funding, basically what I wanted to add, it's all about originality and novelty of your solution. Double funding is not possible, so we will, and the evaluator will be advised for that. We will really see, evaluate, control that your project is original. When it comes to the funding, there is no limitation actually with past NGI project. Then the question will come when you will eventually apply for Open Call 2. then you should not accumulate within TrustChain more than 200K in the TrustChain project. Next question. Is there a format to the paper proposal that we need to follow? Yes, as already mentioned, this template is in the annex of the guide for applicant. You can also upload it on our website, on the TrustChain website. Next question, can we join order to apply? Can a UK institution apply? Thanks. I will also answer to this one. This, with what regard the UK institution, you can bring a UK organization in your consortium, but this is the same rules as for European project. This UK institution will have to work on its own fund. We cannot deliver as TrustChain consortium some funding for UK organization. Basically, these are the European rules since the Brexit is in place. Can we join order to apply? Of course, and I would emphasis on the fact that we want to attract researcher, innovators that works at the intersection of the technology field that is related to decentralized digital identities and the social and science humanities. This is really important. We are building a solution for the people, for the citizen, and we, with that respect, we have to consider their requirement, as it was already discussed by Maria regarding the user-centered approach. Our company based in Switzerland eligible for this call? Once again, this is a matter of European rules. Switzerland cannot get some funding from Europe, and from that aspect, we are really sorry, but we have to follow this European rules, and Switzerland is not an eligible country for this call. Next question. Are we allowed to build a POC, or does this program require higher end result maturity? What level, for example? Actually, I will give the floor to Raj again.
I think I already mentioned this. Just building a proof of concept is not going to be easy to deploy it in a real end user setting to validate, in which case how you can scale this. So I think the expectation is a higher TRL level so that you can deploy it in a real setting to show the real real capability of the outcome of the project. So I think POC would not be good enough to show it in a real setting. To scale it up, especially, I think you would have a very limited. So one of the things that we highlighted on the presentation today is to really have a good pool of samples where we can see that the technology is scalable, as well as it's feasible to deploy in a real setting.
Thank you, Raj. Next question. So it seems that Vlado also adds some more things in the answer. So Vlado, could you please explain more in detail the first mode of participation you suggest? So Vlado, this is for you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. The question that you posed, the anonymous attendee post, was whether it is possible to engage from a research viewpoint in this project. So I was not sure whether this participant is looking for employment as a researcher or wishes to apply with a research and innovation project. So there are two possibilities. Of course, if some of the partner organizations still have capacity, you could probably get employed within our organizations. So for example, at least our university plans to open a position, an additional position in these areas. And some of the other partners may also look for partners like this, I mean, employees. But the other possible way is to participate by submitting a research project. And for this, you need to go through the process of applying to any of the open calls of the project. I hope it is clear.
And actually, if I can complement the applicant, that the form of the team that we are searching for, if it is a team, so we have a team of natural person. So everything is well explained in the guide for applicant. You have team of natural person. You have the possibility also to create consortium with different legal entities. Can be a consortium of private or public legal entities, and it can be also legal entity by themselves. This is the three possibilities that are of course eligible. Next question: which technology stack is expected to be compatible with TrustChain? It has to be Solidity, Ethereum. So maybe Thanasis, this question is for you.
So we don't exclude other ledger technologies from being selected. That said, I mean, we have to stress that in previous NGI projects, mostly Solidity language and EVM technology has been employed. Why I'm mentioning this? Because we are supposed and expected to reuse as much as possible prior developments within the NGI initiative, so that we advance state of the art. We advance what is actually going to be delivered by your projects. So in that sense, EVM solutions and Solidity have some certainty that we will be able to reuse this existing code, but at the same time, we don't exclude other solutions that could really surprise us or propose something really nice and complete with different technologies, even without blockchain technologies, so that they deliver the solutions that we really need to cover the aspects that are expected from this call. Thank you.
Thank you, Thanasis, for this answer. Next question: must the user be from a European partners? So actually, TrustChain is a European project, and the rules that applies to it are the one of the European Commission with what regard Horizon project. So yes, I would say yes. It must be. No, sorry.
They must be eligible.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I'm confusing because here the question is: must the user be from a European partner? I would say this is better, because actually you are going to develop some solution for first the European market, and then eventually bring it to a larger scale. So I would say yes in the first intention, as you are going to develop this solution for Europe first, then your end user must reflect the market you are going to touch upon. I hope I was clear enough. I don't know if there are any other from the consortium that want to add something regarding that.
If I may just clarify, because there could be some confusion regarding the funding. All associated Horizon Europe countries are eligible for funding. Okay, so that's clear. Another thing which should be clear is that any person, any citizen of the world associated with any of these countries that are eligible within Horizon Europe is also eligible to participate. Regarding end users, okay, these solutions, end users for the pilots or for any kind of validation studies. These users, because these solutions are primarily intended for the European space, probably should be Europeans, but I mean, any kind of pilots that involve both Europeans and non-Europeans are also possible.
I also maybe would like to add to that. We are seeking also for an user that can be a refugee. In that case, I mean, obviously, and except if we consider, of course, what is happening in Ukraine, but you can have some refugee from all over the world, but keep in mind that your solution will be primarily developed for the European context. So hope it is clear enough for you. So the next question, are there any financial criteria to be awarded? I'm not sure I get completely the question. So maybe if the person that asked for this question, can you elaborate a bit more again, considering, I mean, of course, the capacity.
I think the question is, Caroline, to ask what kind of due diligence the project does in terms of awarding somebody. So what kind of financial status they have to be in terms of being to receive an award?
Actually, the first things that we are going to seek, and this is something that is also in the guide for applicant, is if you have the capacity, the technical capacity to achieve the objective that you propose, because this is what is important for us. So actually, when you are going to elaborate on the quality of your team in the proposal, you should first explain what is your capacity to achieve the result. And why I say that, just because there is the possibility for you to apply as a team of individual person. So there is, from that point of view, no financial criteria. What we are seeking for is that you have effectively the good background to be able to achieve your results. So I hope I was able to answer correctly. If not, please elaborate a bit more your question in the chat box. So next question. Would you have a preferred way to test the solution? Meaning, would be enough to show a user experience wireframe or better and minimum viable product kind of prototype? So maybe I can first give the floor again to Raj, and also then to Maria from Cyber Voluntarius. So Raj, if you want to answer, because there is a link with the TRL.
Yeah, I think when it comes to minimum viable products, MVPs, I think you cannot have a very basic level of minimum viable product. I think this has been answered several times, that you need to clearly show the credibility the project is in a maturity level of 7 to show that it can be, it has the feasibility of exploitation in a real end user setting. So I think you need to go just above. You can say minimum viable product at different levels, but I think you need to justify in your applications at what level you have your product, which is feasible to exploit in a real setting. And I think that's what we like to see in terms of real implementation at the end user.
Maria, do you want to add something?
Yeah, the only thing I want to add is it would be always preferable to test a prototype that are now wireframe for user experience, just because the users will give you more information about the uses that they want to do with your MVP, that with a wireframe that you will miss a lot of information and data.
Thank you, Maria. So I think that the answer is very elaborated. So let's move to the next question. Is it possible to participate as an individual software developer? Would it hamper the chances of succeeding in being selected? So first of all, this is not a configuration that is accepted, that is eligible in TrustChain. You have to be part of a team of individual person or natural person, sorry. And second, I mean, we really need to have this capacity to, the team has to have this capacity to provide expertise both in the technological field and social and science and humanities one. So I believe, yes, it will hamper the chances of succeeding in being selected. So you have to find another configuration for your application to be successful. So next question, we can use Visual Studio .NET 2022, 2023 plus Solidity. So maybe Thanasis or
no, I was going to answer this, Karen. Yes. I mean, we don't put any requirement on the development tools or whatever technologies you use. I mean, that's open to you. But it has been mentioned, blockchain again, and Ethereum and Solidity and so on, because those are the mainstream technologies that are being used for many other projects. But having said that, Visual Studio or whatever tool you use, okay? As long as you comply, you solve some problem on the digital identity space with verifiable credentials, because this is the technology that we are looking for. As long as you solve a real problem, that's fine.
Thank you, Jesus. Which is the expected initial TRL of the project? Raj?
Yeah, I think we have said again many times it's expected to TRL 7.
So this is,
no,
yes,
that's the expected to reach.
Yeah,
but what is the initial they say?
Initial TRL, I think, yeah.
So,
I think
actually, we didn't put any restriction to that, but as long as you can reach TRL 7, it's okay. But I mean, normally you cannot reach TRL 7 from
without
nothing.
Yeah. At least 4 or 5 to reach in 9 months. Yeah.
This is one point, and I would say also you cannot start with TRL 7 because we want to have a novel solution, original solution. So thank you for this question. once again, maybe Jesus again, but I think it has been clear. It has been made clear just before. Or we can use visualstudio.net or plus Stratis. So Jesus, do you want to go ahead on this one?
Well, I think it was clear, as you said. I mean, unless there is something in this question that I don't get, you can use whatever technologies are solving the real problem.
Thank you, Jesus. Next question. I see in the template that the implementation time frame is 9 months to reach TL7 prototype demonstration. Is this correct? So yes, you have your project duration will be of 9 months and not more. So you have to fulfill this constraint.
And may I also add to this?
Yeah.
Here, the point is that we actually see usability. We've seen many projects because many of us have participated in these programs for quite some years now, that all these projects are related mainly to technologies, but not so much to usability. And the focus here is on actual real world also usability of the technologies. So that we see as also an important challenge by the project.
Thank you, Vlado. Indeed, it was really important to mention this usability of the solution at the end of your project. So thank you, Vlado. Next question, must the team proposing the project already have experience in other blockchain projects? So Vlado, do you want to go ahead on that?
I don't think it's necessary, but general understanding of what different type of technologies for digital and decentralized and digital identities, I think this kind of expertise and knowledge is definitely an asset to participate in this program, at least for the first open call.
Thank you, Vlado. So just to be clear, it's required that the project is established as an SME to be eligible for the open call. No, no, because you can also participate as a team of natural person. You can also be from the academics sector. You can also be a non-profit organization or an NGO. So all these things are clearly mentioned. The way you can participate are clearly mentioned in the guide for applicants. So please refer to it to be sure of your eligibility. Next question. The answer about valuable end user was unclear for me. Can migratory individuals coming into European community be considered as end user if identity technology are issued by European community members? So who want to take this?
I think, I can answer that. I think the question is, can we use the end user? So for example, yes, any refugees crossing the European borders, as long as we use the technologies that are defined by the European border agencies to validate these individuals to cross the borders across the European Union countries, yes, that's within the validation of the end users validation.
Thank you, Raj. I don't know, Thanasis, do you want to add something?
No, I think it's answered very clearly previously, both by.
Okay. Next question then. Would a project based on Hyperledger be eligible, accepted?
I think that's again the same thing. But I'm seeing several of the questions related. Okay, just to mention something. Okay, you can use Hyperledger or there's another one, Polkadot or whatever, or no blockchain, whatever. Okay, in general, we tend to favor blockchain-based solutions, but there is one thing which is very, very, very important. Okay, and it has been explained before in the presentation is. Make sure that if you use the blockchain, you use the blockchain in a compliant way, at least with the GDPR, okay? And it doesn't, it's not enough that, for example, the participant just say, my solution is GDPR compliant, because I have seen many, many, many solutions where all the people are saying they are GDPR compliant, and this is not true, okay? Because they have not run a formal analysis or a privacy impact assessment, a PIA, with some entity which is an expert on GDPR compliance and regulation. Okay, so you have to prove whatever the usage you do of any database, by the way. Okay, so whenever you handle personal information, you have to prove how do you comply with the GDPR, okay? And this includes the blockchain use or any other type of blockchain or any other type of centralized database, if you think this is better than the blockchain, okay? So that's the most important thing, compliance, okay? Because if you use personal information, you have to detect or analyze what are the roles of the organizations handling this personal information, whether they are data processors, they are data responsible, whatever, and how do you comply, how the proposed solution complies with the GDPR. Once you have done this, no problem with the technology that you want to use, okay?
If I may add,
So what if the MVP is built with no-code tools? In this case, there would be no code to be open source, at least for the front end. So, Thanasis?
yes, I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
So the thing is that, yes, okay. The thing is that I wanted just to stress that this is NGI project, next generation. Whether we like it or not, it is believed that blockchain or in general ledger technologies will be a central part of this next generation internet. So as long as you can achieve the objective of the call with any kind of different technologies, that would be okay. At the same time, it is believed that blockchain satisfies some of the needs required in order to achieve the goals.
Maybe I could say a few words.
Yes. Yes, Vlad.
So about the open source or not, we are keen on following this Commission's approach for open source software that facilitates really great business models. So certain aspects could, of course, be considered not to be open sourced, but generally speaking, what we are aiming at is knowledge that can be used and reused, and of course with all the IPR and alongside business models that apply to the open source.
Thank you, Redo, for this adding. So next question, which by the way is not a question, but consta, let's say, using standard self-sovereign identity framework is by default GDPR compliant. So
Caroline, let me
I don't know.
Yes. I can. Well, I do not fully agree with this. I mean, using a standard SSI tends to promote the use cases to be GDPR compliant, but they have not to be. It's like saying, I mean, SSI framework is a technology, okay? So it depends on how you use the framework, then your use case may be compliant or not. It's like saying, for example, a database like MySQL is GDPR compliant. Well, it depends on how you use and what information do you register there and how do you use this and so on. So The GDPR compliance, and by the way, the European Data Protection Agency thinks so, again, okay? It depends on the use case. So the fact that you use some standard mechanism in your use case, is not enough. You have to justify in your given use case, depending on the flows of the information. And for example, whether you have requested the permission from the users or not, okay, which are not included in the standard self-sovereign identity mechanism, then depending on all these factors which are critical to compliance in GDPR, then your use case may be compliant or not. So you have to prove that your specific use case, of course, if you comply with some standard ways of doing things and some technologies, that's easier to do than if you reinvent the wheel completely. But having said that, you, in the use case, have to prove some certainty that it is GDPR compliant, okay? Because there is no guarantee whatever technology you use.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, there are so many standard templates, but when you implement that, it's how you implement it is what is compliant with the, so it's the implementation has to prove that you comply, okay, SSI says that your attributes are privacy protected, but then unless you implement it correctly, they cannot be privacy. And as Jesus said here, if you ask for the consent of the user, you need to then show in your implementation how you achieve that within your framework that you're implementing. So it's mapping those to the current framework. So why cyber attacks always happen is because the way a framework is implemented is not correctly implemented, either in software or in any other framework that we see. So I think that is where we are trying to see is how you achieve these that has been put in these standard frameworks, which will be GDPR compliant.
May I add to this a little bit?
Yeah.
Sorry, I think that we are overemphasizing a bit. GDPR is just one of the European regulations that we have to abide to necessarily. And apart from the SSI framework, the call talks about reputation-based identities. It talks about decentralized reputation management and decentralized management of identities. It talks about many other things that are not covered necessarily from the SSI framework. So let's not stick to one thing or the other, but just try to get the full picture here of what we are trying to achieve.
I would like to add to this that we know that there have been many projects already funded in the self-sovereign identity domain. And we know about plenty of them, and also about DIDs and verifiable credentials, and 160 of them already. So here, what we want to achieve is some level up of all this, so that people who use them can flexibly and usefully, there is a high degree of usability of the technology, and people can actually enter into different kind of ecosystems, not only by sharing data and allowing or keeping the privacy or things like this, for which the second open call is actually for, but also for enabling all economic mechanisms on top of self-sovereign identities and many different aspects like this. So we definitely look for a much higher technology readiness level and usability of technologies related to the decentralized identity. Thanks.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Vlado, and also Maria and Ruben and Thanasis, all being part of the TrustChain consortium. I think we have reached the last question, and now also the time is out for this webinar. So I hope that it will support you drafting your proposal. Do not forget that we have next webinar, and of course you can join it the 27th of March at the same time. So you will be able to sign up very quickly, actually. And yes, thank you for your attendance, and we are looking forward to your application. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you maybe next at the next webinar. Bye-bye.